And we're back once again, only on its last call. Last call of the alcohol, only on the last call podcast.com. And join me here once again, all the way from Intervalab Podcast. He has been grinding away, figuring out what's going on in the world of college football and sports. And just when he thought, the drama in Dallas was simmering down, but he's now in the thick of it. We're going to get to all of that and more. I give you Dallas Cowboys, Houston Texans, and Texas football analyst and insider. I give you Ernest Silva. So Ernest will start off here with, you either love Jerry or you hate him, but it's never a dull moment. The Micah Parsons trade to Green Bay for 2 first-round draft picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. I'll say this about Jerry. He's got he has got grapefruits. I did not see this coming. I didn't think he'd pull the trigger. Your thoughts on this, and do you love it? Do you hate it? And are you still under the impression that, Cowboys fans need to march and just demand Jerry resign ASAP?
I definitely think that. Good morning. Good morning to you, Chris Connor, and excited to be back on the show. But I definitely think Jerry has lost his marbles, and he, he, he is going to defend his business mindset and why he was right to the very end. And he can preach all day that it was amicable, and he can preach all day that it's the right decision for the franchise and that we got to, quote unquote, stop the run, whatever it may be. The point to all of us is that you lost a generational talent, and your team is either going to have to take a direction of shooting downward and getting a franchise superstar quarterback upcoming or something to change the direction for the next 5 years, or you start to make more moves to replace the talent you just lost and fill in that salary, because there was no way the Cowboys were going to match what the Packers did for that extension.
So let's first talk about Micah. Is he worth, I'm checking my notes here, $46 friggin' million a year? I mean, this is quarterback money. And I love Micah Parsons, but he is a pass rusher. He's not going to stop the run. He's not a coverage guy. This is not, like Myles Garrett or Chris Jones, who they'll take up 3 blockers. They can play the run. They can play the edge. They can literally go all over the place. Micah's a linebacker. So in defense of Jerry Jones, at what point were you going, that's a lot of money for, and then I got to pay my quarterback big bucks. I got to pay CeeDee Lamb big bucks. I mean, I know everybody wants him to be like the Bengals and just spend, but there is a salary cap, and I don't know. I mean, is Micah Parsons worth that much money, or are the Packers, going all in and going, man, this will work out fine? When in reality, it might not work out fine.
I think that's where the debate comes in, because the Cowboys played Micah like he was a defensive end, right? They would hybrid him between the linebacker and defensive end role, and essentially Micah's party and Micah's camp was saying, pay me like the more, quote unquote, bona fide superstar defensive end hybrid mix like I'm worth. And Jerry and team were saying, we will make you the highest paid linebacker and we'll make you the highest paid defensive player, quote unquote. But we're not going to make you the highest paid defensive end superstar. And that's where the camps disagreed. Now, the player first meetings that Jerry has with Micah, yes, there was some initial acceptance. Yes, there was some initial we're in, which rubbed Jerry the wrong way, because then the agent got involved and told him, you can't be making those deals. And that's not what you're worth more, and basically went back on it. It doesn't matter. You're not supposed to be making those negotiations player first anyways. And he's not going to stop because he's Jerry Jones. But circling to bottom line, like talent-wise, Micah Parsons is probably the best, if not one of the best athletes and defensive players in the NFL. He gets hurt. He gets taken off field. He didn't show up in the playoffs a couple of times. He has not led the Cowboys to win shares. And I think that's where the difference is when you talk about the Chris Jones and the TJ Watts of the world. So those players have instances where their impacts have taken on deeper runs, have helped their teams get more wins. And I think Micah's great. And I think he's played in weaker divisions for the course of his career. But we'll see what he does in the NFC North. And we'll see if that contract lives up to it. He may be 80% of what he is now. And if he's 80% of what he is now in a tougher division in the NFC North, then he's not even close to what that contract's worth. And Green Bay overpaid. But if he ends up coming out and playing all 17 games, all seasons if needed, and he plays at the same level, if not more, then he's definitely worth that contract. It's just going to have to wait and see at this point because there is a lot of question marks around whether Micah is worth it or not. And he was probably the best player, not taken away from CeeDee Lamb and not taken away from CeeDee Lamb. And on the defensive side of the ball, he was definitely the best player. So we'll see. Cowboys definitely take a step back, a huge step back here, talent wise and roster wise. And I know Vegas has them going down a win, so they went from 8.5 to 7.5 now. So Cowboys fans are in turmoil and depression on a wonderful Friday before the holiday.
It's easy to say that they didn't get much, but how tough is it when, like, what could they have, how many teams were in on this? Because you look and it's like at first glance, like, oh, all these, teams are gonna, they'll definitely jump in, and then you start looking around and you realize the teams that really, could use him, the Chiefs, Buffalo, Baltimore, are either way over the cap next year and in future years, or don't have the assets of, we're going to trade a young player, or we're going to trade two first round picks and a young player. The teams that have the cap money, the Patriots, Tennessee Titans, they're not in a position to have Micah because they still have so many holes. Like, for other people who are saying, oh, they should have got more, how tough is it when the market probably wasn't what we thought it was? Because if you're getting Micah Parsons, it's a win now. You are getting him to win now because you think he is the final piece. He's going to get you to a Super Bowl. So how many teams realistically do you think were in it that, and how many teams do you thought were just out because for the money you're paying Micah, that eliminates a lot of people?
I think there were three teams in it. A lot of people talk about the Patriots and the Packers, but the wild card team, which he had actually requested to go to, was the Atlanta Falcons. And I think the Falcons played a really big part in how much the Packers had to give up. I'm sure Green Bay tried to give up less. They tried to say, "Hey, Micah doesn't want to play for you. You're in a lose-lose situation. Like, why would we pay you more? Why would we give you any sort of extra draft picks or a player or whatsoever that's of any caliber to help your team, considering we're doing you a favor." But Atlanta probably wanted Micah as well. And on the probably player wise, probably had more to offer young talent wise to Dallas. So they had to give up a player in Green Bay. First round picks were just to sweeten the deal and make sure they grab them, but those won't be worth much if Green Bay is actually successful. So very interesting. New England had some room to work financially. I heard they were in the talks kind of towards the latter stages as well, considering there was good faith between the teams for a couple of deals prior, but could never land on the draft capital. And they didn't have the same assets as some of the other teams they were talking to. So I believe it was Green Bay, Atlanta, New England in that order when it came to packages sent over to Dallas after negotiations. And so they went with the best package available before the season starts to not have drama before the season starts. And that's the big thing, is making sure the locker room was all together.
So, final question on this topic, and we'll talk about like the next couple, coming of probably weeks and months. But is this the beginning of maybe the strip down? I mean, if you're at Dallas and you're looking and you're being realistic, like crap, we're farther away from the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Ravens, even maybe dare I say, the Commanders and Detroit. Could this be like, within the next year or so, we see a total strip down and Steven takes over the reins. He starts trading off, maybe Dak and CeeDee Lamb, and he goes, okay, we're building for the future. This team is not that good. We need to get assets and go for younger players so that we can build up?
It's possible, but I mean, you watch the Cowboys documentary and you know how Jerry Jones' mind is. He wants a ship. He wants to win now. And I'm gonna say no to that question just with that mindset. But I think he truly believes in Dak Prescott. I truly think he thinks Dak and CeeDee and George Pickens, that offense can click and score enough points to keep them in games. And I do believe he believes in Shoddy. I think he believes in Brian Schottenheimer quite a bit. And I can't disagree with Jerry's mindset. I mean, he's going all in. This is his team. So um, no, I don't think they're tanking. However, we see in the coming days a Dak Prescott trade. Now we hear, oh, Dak may be on the block after the first two losses of the season or whatever it may be. Then I would say yes, we're going full tank mode, and I think Project Arch Manning's probably going to be in effect if Dak Prescott ever goes on the block.
Speaking of Arch Manning, we start this weekend with the road to the national championship for Texas. Oh, by the way, Arch Manning, I've heard now, is going to be, dare I say, elevated to governor of Texas within the next 10 years. Arch Manning, by the way, is the greatest thing ever from Texas since Vince Young. Arch Manning is going to be better than Jaden Daniels and Patrick Mahomes. You're Steve Sarkisian. I know that you want to win the national championship, but if you were him, how much are you pumping the brakes? Going, okay, look, I know everybody has this good number one seed, but goddamn, I have no idea what half his team is. It's a bunch of young kids, and this is we're starting off with Ohio State, then we get to the SEC. This is not like the MAC. We can't just show up, roll the football out there, and just win the town. This, how much should we pump the brakes on Arch until he actually, wins against a good team?
I mean, he's won, so he's played at the level. He's played high at a high level against teams, and he's gone in and played great. The only really kind of blemish on his college career, has been against probably one of the best defenses in college football, probably the last 5 years, was against Georgia. And he got plugged in as a sub, we tried to see what Ewers could do, and it didn't work out. And that was just a bad game when they lost 30-15 to Georgia at home. But like, when you think about Arch Manning, I like his approach, right? He's getting pumped by the media as being like the next governor of Texas, right? Like, he's getting pumped to be that guy. And that's not a terrible deal if you can run with that and you can deliver. So I like what they asked him when they said, "Hey, how do you feel about being number one, having the target on your back?" And he said, "No, we have targets on everybody. Everybody keep their targets on us, but we're targeting every single team. We know who we're facing." I thought it was a great answer in return from him when it came to the media, and that's what comes with football royalty, is that you've been primed your whole life to know how to deal with media and know how to deal with pressure, and that is why I think he walks with the swag, and why Sark is going to ride that train and say, "We live and die with Arch." And I am excited to see what he does. I am going to be the enthusiast on this and the analyst at the same time. I'm going to tell you, I think everybody is wrong who thinks he's going to struggle against Ohio State this week. I think he's going to be brilliant. I think this is going to be the start of the conversation we have about the legacy of Arch Manning, and why this year is going to be, when does the other shoe drop? When does he struggle? I think that's going to be the question for most of the year until he has that bad game. And then 5 or 6 games in a game that he probably should do wonderful, he'll probably go 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions against A&M, and they're still going to win by 3, and they're going to be like, is he human? And then we're going to be talking about what the next step is and how can he come back from it. So that to me looks more like the storyline than he's going to be, struggling, or he's going to be, not as effective. I do think he has all the assets. He's actually incredibly agile. He's very fast. People mistaken that for being a Manning, that he's just a pocket quarterback, but he's not. He's much, much more than that. And so I fully expect to see that on full demonstration this week, with Sark mixing it up with a couple of option plays that nobody expects, as well as getting the ball down the field. Texas is incredibly fast this year, so I expect a good showing from the team.
I think he's going to struggle first game out. And it's not him. It's not just him. It's like you have to replace both tackles, one of your guards. starting center, both star wide receivers. They left. The tight end Gunnar Helm got drafted. Let's see, Jadon Blue, who everybody thought was the best running back last year. Oh, by the way, he's gone. Like I don't care if you are Patrick Mahomes and you go in here. It's you if you're replacing almost the entire offense and it's a bunch of guys who have never been starters, never been called to literally carry the load. At what point, is it like, oh yeah, by the way, we're replacing everybody. Here's a new crop. Don't worry, we're gonna just seamlessly pick up. Like, should there be expectations of, hey, we might have some hiccups because we're breaking in 9 new starters on offense and at least 5 different starters, including Jadon Barron and Andrew Makumba in the secondary. Oh, by the way, Alfred Collins is also, he's not there anymore. And Vernon Broughton, your other big defensive end, he's not there anymore. I mean, what is realistically, should there be expectations of like, okay, this is not last year's team. They're going to have to really play catch up, and Ohio State's not the team you want to debut against that.
Maybe for some other SEC teams, or maybe for some lower level teams like the A&M and Texas Tech of the world, you might think that, but this is Texas football I'm talking about. This Texas is back, Chris Connor. And I mentioned this on my show, and we talked a little bit about what NIL does now. NIL just basically, we're in that transition period of 5 years with the big schools that have more money and sponsors before smaller schools start getting those big endorsements. They are going to start pumping the talent into Texas. Although you're changing the starters, you've gone through spring training, you've gone through the beginning of the program here in the fall, and you've had time to work out your chemistry. It's the same coaching staff and the same culture. And Weisner is absolutely tremendous in the backfield. He just got hurt, so I don't really see the running back position as being a replacement. But what I do see as everybody else's opportunity. And a lot of the college football programs go through changes and opportunity, and they bring in skilled athletes to come in. Now, the wide receiver core is young, but they're fast and they're great. I expect Art to come in there and just kind of demonstrate that culture and be fantastic, and then continue forward. Will it be rocky at times? I'm sure. Will they face new things like anybody will? Where like, hey, we're down 7 and we got to come back from it? Yeah, because they've never done it before as a team, right? And so yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of a stumble, but I don't expect Texas to be taking a game or a week to figure out how to adjust. I expect it to be a quarter, and you proceed forward. If you have a generational talent, as we think we have in Arch Manning, then that is the expectation. And so I'm going to run with that. And I am glad you differ on your opinion that you think he's going to struggle week 1, because that is what this is all about. There is a huge question mark as to how this weekend is going to go, and that is why it is going to be the best game of the year, because there is so much unknown.
Texas A&M, they're in sort of this weird place where they lost a lot of defensive players, and yet there's still people who were like, hey, they're going to be a threat. Because Cassius Howell, as we see here, he's the next big stud. You got to keep your eye on him. But, they still got Marcel Reed and Jacob Zeno. Hey, they also went to the transfer portal and, brought in a bunch of guys. And as we've seen, they always just have that on lockdown. So what should we expect from them? And is this the beginning of a new era with them, especially with Mike Elko, who his debut year at Texas A&M comes in there and, hey, turns things around, 8-5, tied for 4th, Las Vegas Bowl, and he seems to just be a defensive guru there.
A&M has a lot of questions. Definitely going to be interesting. Similar to the NIL deals that Texas has, A&M had quite a bit also, a lot of transfers. What I like about Texas A&M this year is that there's not huge expectations for them. There is a good amount of pressure to come in and just kind of do things right from the get-go. But A&M football always going to have the culture. Did you watch the SEC documentary this summer, Chris Connor?
I did, yes.
Now, what did you think about that?
It's a lot. I mean, it shows the passion of the SEC. It shows, how much expectations there are for just every team. I mean, you just said, you're talking about Texas. Like Texas A&M, they expect eventually to be a national champion.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So that is like expectation every year is that the little brother is going to come in and always take over the state and surprise everybody. And they're going to continue that. I think that culture never changes for A&M. And there are a lot of question marks, a lot of changes around this team. And the offense is going to change its team just a bit this year. They're going to run spread a little bit more. And I'm excited to see what changes come in and help them win against bigger opponents, because they will not be the most talented on the field. We know that. If you look at their roster, especially with underclassmen in skill positions, they're not going to be the most skilled team on the field. But what I like about playing at the 12th man there at Texas A&M, I think it's Kyle Field. I think the name is escaping me, but is that they're always in every game, no matter what game they're in, because of the passion of the fans and because of what they play for. So that's why I like to follow Texas team, man. Texas football is something else.
How much leash does Marcel Reed have? I mean, on one hand, he was last year pretty good for considering what he was a sophomore. And there was a lot of breakouts. People were excited. You know, there's even anonymous SEC coaches who say, don't sleep on this kid. He's going to be the real deal. On the other hand, Texas A&M hedged their bets. Hey, you know, Jacob Zeno, who is a transfer from UAB, who has played at Baylor. They brought him in so that, well, if Marcel struggles, we got an excellent backup there. So if you're Texas A&M, how, you know, and you, as you said, there's pressure to perform, to go to a bowl game, to be in the top echelon of the SEC. If Reed struggles, do they go turn to Jacob Zeno, or do they give him more of a leash?
I think it really depends on how the season goes. I think you're right? But if you're struggling and you're winning, you ride Marcel. Like you don't pivot. You want to give him the actual chances to play in big games and continue to develop and win you some games in clutch situations. You don't take out a thoroughbred who is gifted at the game, top level athlete, and stop it. Now, if you're losing or you're winning close games, but he's just absolutely hindering you, then you might throw in a couple of packages where you shift it around and see what you're doing against the defense, bringing in guys that could actually help and run the scheme a little bit better. I wouldn't get away from Marcel Reed. I think he's a stud. But I don't run A&M, and as you can imagine, as a Longhorns fan, I don't exactly want to root for them. But as a cover analyst, I think he'll be fine this season. I think he'll play the whole entire year.
SMU is sort of the one team where everybody looks and goes, "Oh yeah, they're there. They're in the mix." And yeah, as we saw last year, they were maybe a quarter away from upsetting Clemson, winning the whole SEC, going farther. Is this going to be the year? I mean, I know everybody's talking about Clemson and they're saying, "Hey, this is their year," but could SMU be the team that steals the ACC this year? I mean, do they have the personnel? Do they have the offense to basically go, you know what, we're going to make it shootouts, we're going to make it fun, and damn it, we're going to score a lot of points along the way?
No, I think they do. I think they're well rounded all the way around, especially bringing back more experience from last year. SMU's aged up. Excuse me. But last year, SMU carried in raw talent. You saw them in their games. They played close games and they won games they shouldn't. But I don't know if there's probably, gosh, they're probably the third most storied franchise, at least college program in the state, behind A&M and UT. And I look at their roster and I think about where SMU is going to be, what their schedule looks like. Like, have you looked at their schedule for the year?
Yes, and it's the ACC, and they start off pretty. It's not tough, but they're still like, you know, you look and go, oh, it's Texas A&M, then Baylor,
Right.
Missouri State, TCU, Syracuse, Stanford. October 18th, then they get Clemson, so they could be either undefeated or at worst they could have
One loss,
maybe or two losses, depending on how good TCU bounces back. But yeah, we'll find out very quickly October 18th. Are they going to be winning the ACC?
I think the true statement on where we think SMU and how good they are is going to be November 1st. I think November 1st is going to be that week where we see, hey, just how good this team really is. I know a lot of people think Miami's going to have the wheels fall off them this year, but I do think that that'll be a test of talent. I would love to see SMU upset Clemson, but we're going to weigh how good SMU has progressed and how good they look against Baylor week number 2. And once they have that win, because I do think they'll win that game, then we'll see how they look against TCU, and then we'll know how that game's going to go against Clemson. You know that they're going to be circling that in their calendars, and they're going to be looking at that. And that's going to be a game Clemson's going to take very serious. And they don't want to have any sort of doubt of how good they are, any sort of vibe about making the college playoffs, and they're going to be pushing hard to beat that team. And so that'll be a game. But SMU, in my opinion, talented this year. Age is up. You know me. You've been on my show. And for those who don't follow the Into That podcast, Wednesday nights, 8:30 p.m., sometimes 9, just depending on the kiddos. But we talk about age and experience being one of the number one priority things when it comes to evaluating talents on the team, especially in college. And SMU ages up 2.5 years on their roster, and to me, that's just a show of experience, maturity, and grown men. And when that happens, you play longer, you have smarter plays, you make better decisions, you have multiple coaches in the huddle, and SMU at 16 probably wouldn't be surprised if they're top 10 come that Clemson game if they're undefeated. So I'm looking forward to that game. It's going to be one of the best games of the year too.
Can Kevin Jennings take the next step? Last year, he proved, all right, I could be a starting quarterback in the ACC. He went 9-2, 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and there were games where he was just a monster. I still remember the Florida State game, 3 touchdowns, just dominating Florida State all over the place. Is this as good as he's going to get, or is he a guy that you look and go, well, maybe he might show people he's an NFL caliber quarterback? The teams will go, hey, you know what? He is a guy who, despite his size, he is a guy who can play.
Kevin Jennings is good, man. Kevin Jennings has a terrific arm. He's athletic. He's, to me, one of the players to watch in college football. You know, every conference, especially in the ACC, every conference has guys you just, when you put it on the screen, you watch for them. Kevin Jennings is that guy for SMU on the offensive side of the ball. And what I like about what SMU has done for him is they've made an offensive scheme that centers around his talents, very similar how Vince Young was at Texas. And he just exuberates talent. It's absolutely monster on the field. If you haven't watched Kevin Jennings highlights, just go put Kevin Jennings in your YouTube search bar, and you're going to have an assortment of things you can watch from just last season. But he's classified as a junior this year. And one thing I love about junior and senior quarterbacks in college football is that mistakes are minimal. And he's been one of those that's not really one to be prone to mistakes and make the bad plays, even as a mobile quarterback and even as somebody who can fling the ball like he can. And that's what I like about a very cautious and understanding quarterback that shows high level IQ. And so I think Kevin Jennings keeps SMU in a lot of games this year, even when they shouldn't. So definitely excited to watch it play. So to answer your question, yes, I think he takes that step. I think he'll be brilliant this year.
Well, let's talk about a team that, I'm going to put it here. They get FU money. That's what I call it. Texas Tech, Cody Campbell decides, you know what? I don't want to be second best anymore. I don't want to be like, middle class. The billionaire oil magnate decides, hey, you know what? Screw you. I'm buying this. I want a defensive player. What'd he do? He went out and he put his nuts on the table and outbid Texas for David Bailey, who many consider a stud farter. They got Quentin Jones, Mitch Griffs, from Wake Forest. They get very, you know what? Screw this. We're going to buy our friggin', we're going to buy it here. Here we go. David Bailey, here it is. Here's FU money. Could Texas Tech be the sleeper of college football playoffs?
Maybe. I mean, any Texas football team is going to be a sleeper this year. I mean, if you think about it, A&M is talented, SMU is talented, Texas is talented. Texas Tech is talented.
This is like you were expecting David Bailey to go with the Longhorns. No, suddenly found out, wait a minute here, what the, God damn that oil baron. How much you pay? He can buy you, Ernest, have you come to his birthday party wearing just a Pokemon outfit and doing, like TikTok dances. And for the money that he'd pay, you would probably go, damn, okay, I will do that. That's a
That's
lot
not
of money.
that's not wrong. That's not wrong. I will say this. Um, this, and I said it earlier, just kind of hinted it, but this is the NIL transition period, right? Like this is where you throw money, you get talent, and it's very similar to the NFL. Throw money, you get talent. So, um, this is a perfect example of where I thought Bailey was coming to Texas. It was guaranteed. It was done. We're the obvious national champion favorites. You should come here. You want to win. You want to get seen. How many? You told me this, Chris Conner. I don't want to mess it up. How many scouts are going to be at the Texas Ohio State game?
30 scouts, 2 GMs.
They won't have 30 scouts at any Texas Tech game all season. I don't even know if it's going to add up to 30 by the time
I
we get to
don't know. I
midseason.
mean, as I said, they went out and they decided to get David Bailey and
Oh, I
Romelio
know that. Yeah,
and
yeah,
Lee
I know.
Hunter. I mean, they went out and it's, as I said, Ernest, this isn't like, a 2-year, 3-year. This is just the oil guy came in, went, F you, I'm buying this. And all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, I guess you can buy a top tier talent in college football. Just you put your nuts on the table, you outspend for guys like David Bailey, and all of a sudden, like,
I mean,
damn.
the Jerry Jones of oil fields, man. That's what we're making it seem. The guy did toss money though, so I'll give him that.
$63 million to support Texas Tech. That's how much his collective. 63 friggin' million. Or not, by the way, he has a friend called Patrick Mahomes who's also throwing out some cash. Like, again, if you all of a sudden, how much do you look at Texas Tech and go, God damn it, they are matching nuts for nuts with Texas and Texas A&M to get these players.
Yeah, well, they're definitely going to be up there, and they're in a conference that's wide open. I know Arizona State's hands down one of the favorites in that conference, but Texas Tech accumulates a talent. You'll see them rising to the rankings to start the season. They do not have a very difficult schedule, to say the least. They have a pretty ride and die. Sorry, I got distracted by a news alert. But what I like to see about Texas Tech is that they're going to have time to develop and get into the rankings. And they go Arkansas Pine Bluff, they go Kent State, Oregon State. They'll be 3-0. You'll see them rise up to probably 20, 18. They play against Houston, which would be a deciding game, as Houston will be moving on from the Cam Ward era and looking to reestablish their culture. They'll probably dominate that game and go to Kansas. Then you're going to go to Arizona State, and this is the determining factor. You're probably ranked at 17 or 18 at this point, depending on if other teams have lost and how good you've looked. And then you get back to back to back Arizona State, a tough game against OK State coming in, and then Kansas State away. And those are difficult games back to back to back. And you'll really see how good Texas Tech ends up being. Not to mention you end the year against UCF, and then ironically, foes and rivals of West Virginia. So, Texas Tech always been the little brother that tags along with Texas. They didn't move conferences because we were told no, but we'll see if they can dominate this division, lead the Big 12, and then come out in the playoff as a surprise team. I like the take. I would love to see Tech in there. Would love to see a Texas Tech matchup just for old time's sake, and hoping that Texas is in the playoffs as well. But Texas Tech is absolutely talented. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is just the NIL money. Like this is the NIL money till it gets stabilized and capped out by in the next 5 years. But we'll see.
Can Bayron Morton stay healthy? That's going to be the big question. I mean, he's balled out the last 2 years, and we went, his first season as a starting quarterback, 6-2, 1,700 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Next year, 8-4, threw for 3,300 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. Both years, though, he's been dinged up. He couldn't play in the Liberty Bowl because he sat out following shoulder surgery. Year before that, he had a sprained AC joint that had him, miss some time. As they say, as the quarterback goes, so goes the team. So if you're Texas Tech, how much are you hoping that they can keep this guy upright? Because if not, this could all just fall apart.
I mean, it's everything. This season goes with him. So Texas Tech is one of those teams that is not deep. You spend all your money on your starters, and when it comes to NIL deals and working with sponsors, and there's not a huge talent pool there at Texas Tech. I think there's some, but it's not huge. So you're doing everything you can to keep them healthy. Interesting. I don't have it in front of me, but Chris, I don't know if you know this, but how much money NIL deals do the offensive line have at Texas Tech?
I don't know, but you got to figure a pretty penny because he said he went out and he spent buku bucks. We're not talking, the cheap kind. We're not talking like, 800 grand or 400 grand. Cody Campbell raised 63 friggin' million. So you got to figure he's just sunk in some cash. The kind of even you would look and go, oh, God damn, that's impressive.
Well, I can tell you right now, it's not as much as you think. And that's where the problem is with this, is that if you don't invest enough money into the key positions, which the trenches are always a big factor for me, then you don't win. And so you got to hope that the offensive line is able to stay healthy, use your experience to keep your backfield healthy just in general. And again, you start off with cupcake teams to start the year at Texas Tech. Build off that momentum, get your reps in, get yourself ready, and protect your quarterback, protect your running back, protect the system, right? And for Texas Tech is establishing that culture again, away from the big brothers of college football. You are now trying to establish yourself as the program. So we will see.
TCU. If Texas Tech is sort of the forgotten little brother, TCU's like the unwanted stepchild that everybody forgets, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, by the way, they went 9-4. Oh, that's pretty impressive. What should we expect from them? Because the Big 12 is almost wide open. There is no real super team. It could be Texas Tech. It could be Colorado. It could be Iowa State. It could be TCU. It's basically just anybody's ball game. So let's start off here with TCU. They have the quarterback. By all accounts, you look at Josh Hoover, and all he does is win. Went in last year, went 9-4, 27 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, nearly for 4,000 yards. Are they a team that you look and go, yeah, they could actually win this division? They have the quarterback, they have some talent, and they have Sonny Dykes, who that guy wins anywhere he goes.
Well, they kind of drew the short straw of college football, though, if you think about it, right? Because you start off your year against none other than, and I'm sure you know this, Bill Belichick, right? Like, you don't want to go up against Bill Belichick to start your year. But that's not how you want to start your program. UNC and TCU have the first game of the season, and I'm sure that wasn't exactly what you signed up for with TCU, and you go off of that tough game, which you're probably going to lose. Bill Belichick's not going to lose his home opener. And then you go up against ACU. That's going to be a cupcake game. And then you go up against SMU right after that. So right off the bat, you're probably 1-2 to start the season. But then look who they have right after that. Arizona State. You're not probably 1-3 going to Arizona State. And then you get Deion Sanders and Colorado coming in. And that's probably going to be a rough game too. And all of a sudden, TCU is looking at probably 2-3 or 1-4, depending on how they perform against Colorado. And then you go to Kansas State right after that. So you're probably 2-5 or 1-6, right? So, or 1-5 or 2-4. So my only thing about TCU is that this schedule is rough. Schedule does no favors for you. This to me is going to be a transition year for TCU. We're probably not talking much about this program this year, which is okay. It happens. Just showcase your seniors, showcase your juniors that are looking to go to the NFL. Go get talent, show them who you play, and then move forward. I don't have high expectations for TCU. I think this is a 5-win season for TCU. I think they're going to be forgotten again this year, but transition into the next season. Maybe the schedule is a little more forgiving next year, and your talent pool goes up. Have some stud highlights, and then move forward from there. But I think TCU is just going to have a transition year. I don't think it's going to be anything special this year.
So here's the guy who's going to push back at you. There's a guy by the name of Sonny Dykes. He's going to look at you, Ernest. He's going to tell you, you can go F yourself. Hey, I wanted Louisiana Tech. Nobody wins Louisiana Tech. Then I went to friggin' Cal, where coaches go to die. And I won in Cal. And then I went to SMU. That place was a dumpster fire. And I turned it around and made it to a power conference, went to three different bowl games in 4 years. Then I went to TCU. And I took him to the Fiesta Bowl. I've taken him to the New Mexico Bowl in 2 out of 3 years. Do you worry about there's all of a sudden we as you said, you're writing off. They're going to lose to University of North Carolina. They're going to lose to this. They're going to lose to this. At what point do you have to realize, holy crap, it is Sonny Dykes, and no matter what, every time we try to put a stake in his heart, he has winning teams. He will find a way. It's TCU. They just enjoy looking at people like you, Ernest, and going, you know what? You can go bleep yourself. We're doing this. We're going to win 9 more games. And at the end of the day, you're going to be eating crow going, oh, yeah, they actually are a good program. Oh, yeah. Sonny Dykes is actually one of the best coaches in college football. Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about.
I think Sonny Dykes is great, but similar to my Micah Parsons staying in Dallas no matter what take, I am sometimes wrong, and prove me wrong. I'd rather say there's another Texas powerhouse than say there's not, right? But I'm going to keep it realistic with you, roster-wise, talent-wise, and compared to the teams that they're playing, they're not as good. So I'm not going to pick them to win just because I think Sonny Dykes is great. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a great football coach. But let's just read the college script as we read the college script. Bill Belichick has his home opener at UNC. There's going to be tons of media there. It's going to be high pressure situation against a TCU team that is 50-50 in big games. And Bill Belichick is not going to lose. So if you take that, you're 1-1 at best. And you're going to be going, and you're going to tell me right now you're going to walk in and beat SMU? Sonny Dykes, look me in the face and tell me you 100% believe that.
He will. He'll tell you that. And then watch, all of a sudden, we'll look like, oh, yeah, I guess we don't know what we're talking about. But
I'm sure we'll return to this conversation after week 3, and you and I can talk again about it, because if they win, I know you're going to have me back on. But I'm going to tell you right now, Sonny Dykes has a challenge to you. You listen to this at all. Come tell me that to my face, that you think you're going to go and you're going after week 3, you guys will be 3-0. I want you to tell me that right now. I don't even know if he could say that.
Well, the final team that we got to talk about, Baylor University. Well, after you go 8-5 and you lose to LSU with Texas Bowl, what does Dave Aranda do? Well, he just decides, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go to the transfer portal. I'm gonna start getting some better talent. It's all led by one guy though, Sawyer Robertson, and he looks like an NFL quarterback. I mean, last year you looked and you went, wow, okay, yeah, he's turned it around. First season out as a starter, he goes, 7-3, 26 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, throws for 2,600 yards, completes 60 of his passes, 62% of his passes here. Is it basically safe to say, as Baylor goes, so does Sawyer Robertson?
Yeah, other way around. As Sawyer goes out there and performs, Baylor will have success. I think that's a heavily dependent thing for him. He's a terrific quarterback. Have you watched his highlights or watched his games?
I have. I mean, all of a sudden he's like a sleeper NFL pick where it's like, oh, man, crap, I forgot about this guy. Where was he? Where did he come from?
Colorado. So, the guy comes out and plays great football. He has the assets too. He's going to be one of those Drake May players that comes out in the NFL Combine. And everybody's like, who is this guy? And we're going to be talking about it here. Like, he'll be drafted as long as the team plays well, and as long as he gets some visibility, he will be drafted. What I like about Baylor, and if you want to talk about teams that get forgotten, right? Baylor's absolutely one of those since all the scandals of old and everything Baylor. But similar to TCU, Baylor has to just pull a bunch of upsets throughout the year to remain relevant. They are going to be mid-tier inside the Big 12. They're going to have to play above their heads, and Sawyer's going to have to be a Heisman candidate. I mean, it's the team is not nearly as talented as others. A lot of money there at Baylor, though. A lot of money thrown at players to keep them, and a lot of money thrown at players to come there and play. So, but if you haven't looked up Sawyer, similar to most of the quarterbacks we talked about, actually, aside from Arch, you should go look up those highlights because he'll be somebody that we could be talking about 5 years from now as a starter for Miami or New Orleans. And you would be like, wow, I didn't even know he played at Baylor. So just a terrific quarterback. So, yeah, as Sawyer goes, so does Baylor. And keep him healthy, for the love of God. The only thing I pray for these quarterbacks, these programs, just keep them healthy.
You mentioned the transfer portal. They went balls to the wall. You
And
need offensive tackles. Hey, we're going to steal Alessandro Lorenzetti and Connor Cameron from ASU in Michigan. Hey, you need wide receivers. Hey, we're going to get you Kobe Prentice all the way from Alabama. We're going to get you Cole Wilson from Washington State. Hey, we're going to get even Ryan Shackelford from Purdue. I mean, you look at Baylor, and I know you say, oh, they don't have the talent, you know, of other teams, but in a weak Big 12, and with them just going out, screw freshmen, we're getting transfers. Could they be that sneaky team where all of a sudden you're talking, crap, Baylor's, you know, in the hunt for the Big 12 because they have veterans, they have that NFL caliber quarterback, and next thing you know, Dave Aranda is just pitching some magic.
I didn't say they were bad. I just said they were mid-tier. The only reason I say that they're mid-tier is because there's at least 4 teams or 4 college programs that I would put ahead of them. And that's no slight on them right now. But they did go heavy. 22 unofficial transfers, 16 officials, 6 off the record, and 6 that walked on but then got NIL deals and helped boost that roster. But what Baylor has done is they kind of took what are those things called where you kind of give the pulse to the heart? Like they took one of those. I know it's not EMGs or EMTs. Took like a life.
EFT.
There you go. Yeah. They took one of those and they just pumped back into the heart of the program because they were falling off and they had to rekindle, get past all the suspensions and get past all the rumors and all the issues they had, and now they're revitalizing this program. And I think they're talented. Again, not deep, but talented. And I think that they will make some noise in games. They may be leading in some games late, but can they seal the deal on some games inside the conference? Can they get to a Big 12 championship? That's going to depend on can they compete at a high level against teams they shouldn't be beating. And I just don't have that full faith yet in that program. And I think they're a couple years away, bringing up some underclassmen that can learn from players like Sawyer and the next gen of Baylor football. So kind of sad this is the last program. No Texas State, huh? No UTSA, no UTRGV in this conversation.
Hey, we have too many friggin' teams. I'm just going on the bigger ones here. So I know you think you've already said Texas going to win the whole thing. Give me the final team, but of all the teams you mentioned, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, TCU, SMU, Baylor. Who out of all those teams, who's a team that you look at and go, they have the highest ceiling? That they're going to be the team that shocks us all. They're going to be in the college playoffs, and after the end of the year, we're going to go, oh, all right, well, I guess that we should have given them more credit. We should have recognized them for actually being the next big program on the rise.
I'll give you 2. I'll give you one that's absolutely impossible and one that is absolutely a chance. SMU is overlooked a lot. SMU is number 16 in the country. They have the talent of probably a top 10 team. But to put it all together and to run a program, it takes a lot to happen. They play against opponents that are in the top 25, especially the top 10. They could have a big win against Clemson. They could really run the table, win their championship, and be a playoff team and make some noise and be back in the fray, right? SMU back in the fray of being one of those top contenders. That is one team. Excuse me. That is one team that I think will be phenomenal, a team to watch and somebody that can come up. I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned it. Let's give a far-fetched, almost impossible situation, but I think Texas Tech could be sneaky in there. I think Texas Tech could be sneaky. The right dominoes fall. They have the right schedule to gear up. They have a cupcake schedule to get things going, be really strong, and then face the gauntlet of the Big 12 and make some noise. They have some good matchups at home. If they have a winning record at the end of it and they're playing in the Big 12 championship, I mean, who knows at that point? They could make a run, and we could be seeing multiple Texas teams up there. I mean, we could be seeing Texas Tech, SMU, and Texas all up in there in the college football playoffs, and I wouldn't bat an eye at it. So I'm excited, and I would be remiss if we didn't talk Texas college football right now and not mention that from my hometown in the Rio Grande Valley, it is their inaugural season. UTRGV's football team is having their inaugural season this season. So shout out to them, and I hope they don't go 0 and 10, 0 and 11. I hope they win one for the group, and I'm excited to see some of those Valley boys get some playing time in college.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we always love talking some footballs in Texas, whether it's the pros, whether it's college, and this man knows his ball. I give you, once again, from Into the Lab Podcast, I give you it's Ernest Silva. So, Ernest, before we let you go, where can fans check you out at? Where is the podcast, the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook? Where can fans hit you up at?
The Into the Lab Podcast on Wednesday night, somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock start time. Podcast episodes start up again the first week of September. We talk and analyze all money line and spreads on our show, as well as talk fantasy football, college football, and lots of fun. And if you're into Pokemon as well, we do have a little bit of Pokemon coverage in there. But thank you so much, Chris Connor. As always, I appreciate you, appreciate the platform, and look forward to our next encounter, probably before week 3, but definitely that week 3 talk.
Ernest Silva, ladies and gentlemen, once again, always on a pleasure to have you on the show. We come back, a lot more going on here, only on It's Last Call. Last Call, the alcohol, only on the lastcallpodcast.com.